Have you thought about what is critical thinking? Let us explore the different ways we can think critically, which is essential to build clarity and contextuality for one's perspective. We have to begin with means of knowledge, because this is really where critical thinking starts to take shape. Once we discuss means of knowledge, the central question shifts from "what do I know?" to "how do I know?" And this is the heart of critical thinking. The most immediate means of knowledge is perception. I see you, you see me. This is direct, biological seeing with our eyes. And alongside perception is inference, where we know something even when we do not directly perceive it. The Indian philosophical school of Nyaya makes a very careful distinction between these two forms of knowing, and it is interesting to see similar patterns in Greek logic as well. Nyaya also reminds us that the final test of knowledge is in fruitful action, knowledge reflecting on the way you think and act. If I say I believe in something, but that belief never appears in how I behave, then my knowledge is incomplete. Critical thinking, therefore, is a practice of inner questioning, asking whether what I claim as knowledge is actually visible in my life. This is where personal integrity and knowledge come together. They cannot be separated. With this understanding of knowing, let us see how different traditions analyze reality, beginning with Samkhya, which gives one of the earliest systematic reflections on mind, matter, and consciousness. Samkhya separates mind from matter long before Descartes did that, and then places consciousness above both. This kind of conceptual clarity is also a form of critical thinking because it forces us to examine assumptions we usually take for granted and invites a more layered understanding of the world. Buddhist philosophy expands the inquiry by challenging the very idea of binary divisions. Rather than accepting that reality comes in neat pairs or hierarchies, Buddhism explores non-dual ways of understanding. This too is critical thinking because it unsettles the categories we inherit without questioning. Building on this questioning spirit, Nagarjuna brings in an even more radical insight. He tells us not to reify knowledge, not to freeze it into a fixed object. For Nagarjuna, all conceptual knowledge is relational, shaped by context and shifting possibilities. This position challenges the idea of a rigid objectivity and pushes critical thinking into a deeper awareness of the limits of logic and the fluid nature of conceptual truth. To understand these limits more clearly, we can look at the multi-membered logical possibilities. It exists, it does not exist, it both exists and does not exist, it neither exist or non-exist. These four-cornered cognitions show us that logic can never fully capture the complexity of reality and that critical thinking requires an honest recognition of these limits rather than blind dependence on logical categories. Another dimension of this reflection appears in Confucian thought, where the emphasis is on self-rectification, the continual act of correcting oneself. Here, acknowledging "I do not know" becomes part of genuine understanding. This adds an ethical depth to critical thinking, the willingness to revise oneself, to adjust, to stay open and humble. Critical thinking, as I understand it, is a wide and generous practice. It involves taking everything seriously, recognizing that everything has a reality, understanding how knowing is structured, using perception and inference with awareness, allowing knowledge to show in our actions, questioning the dualisms we inherit, recognizing that knowledge is contextual, seeing the limits of logic, and repeatedly correcting ourselves as we grow. Finally, critical thinking is reflective thinking and being open to multiple perspectives and contextualities.